I spent the last months analyzing the way different editors built their skills, and more importantly, how they would learn editing if they had to start over. Despite their different niches, they shared a common path of struggles, leading them to document their experiences overcoming the same hurdles on their platforms. In this video, you'll get the essence of their journeys into 4 lessons so you can have a clear roadmap and know exactly what to focus on. Mistake number 1 is learning too much, too early. Most beginners assume that mastering editing means mastering the software, so they spend forever memorizing features and effects before understanding how they actually serve real projects. But in practice, most of these techniques you find on YouTube aren't something you'll actually need for a real project. It's not that the tools are useless, they just solve problems you don't have yet. I fell into this trap myself. I spent countless hours on advanced motion tracking and complex VFX, but once I started working with real clients, I realized these pro tricks weren't making my projects any better. It was just knowledge sitting there unused. This is where the shift happens. Experienced editors don't learn by collecting tools, they learn by solving real problems. Instead of asking, what else can this software do? They ask, what does this specific story need right now? They learn on demand by finding the exact solution for the task at hand. Every new skill is immediately applied. This cuts out the noise and ensures that you're not just learning, you're evolving with every project you make. Mistake number 2 is not defining a style. Many beginners fall into the same trap. They never commit to a specific aesthetic. Their work becomes completely inconsistent. One video has that minimalist Apple-style look. The next is complex Iman Gaji style, and the one after that is maybe Vox-style explainer. They often get distracted by trendy effects from every new tutorial they watch. Individually, none of these choices are wrong, but together, they create a portfolio with no identity, and this causes 2 major problems. First, it kills your speed. Without a defined style, you're forced to reinvent the wheel with every new project, wasting hours deciding on the look instead of actual editing. Second, you lose credibility. If your style is all over the place, clients won't know what to expect from you. Top-tier editors often emphasize that you don't necessarily need one single style for your entire career, but you must have a consistent identity for each client. When you maintain a unified style for a creator, you're not just editing, you're building their brand. This consistency removes the guesswork, speeds up your workflow, and makes your value as an editor undeniable. Mistake number 3 is the tutorial trap. Many beginners confuse consumption with execution. They spend hours watching YouTube tutorials, building massive playlists of editing tricks, and they genuinely feel like they're making progress. But there's a massive gap between understanding a technique and actually being able to use it under pressure. The experienced editors I analyzed shared a common turning point. They stopped watching how things are done and started doing them. They realized that watching a pro edit is like watching someone exercise. It doesn't make you any stronger. You can't build editing muscle by being a spectator. 1 hour spent struggling with a real project will teach you more than 10 hours of watching someone else solve a problem you don't even have yet. Mistake number 4 is the comparison trap. Another mistake many editors fall into is consistently measuring their work against other editors. This habit often leads to a dangerous obsession with visual noise. When you chase someone else's style too closely, your timeline becomes overloaded. You start adding more effects, more transitions, and more tricks, not because the story needs them, but because you're trying to compete. But remember, more effects don't make a better video if the message gets lost. The best editors don't work to impress other editors. They work to make sure the story connects with the viewer. Beyond these mistakes, there's one fundamental skill that often goes unnoticed. Great editing isn't defined by the tools you use, but by how well you control the viewer's attention. Most beginners focus heavily on the visible parts of editing: effects, color tricks, transitions. But the editors who scale the fastest focus on something deeper: pacing. Knowing when a cut should happen, when a moment should breathe, and when the next visual should arrive. These decisions are what actually control the viewer's emotions. You can learn a new effect within few minutes, but you'll hardly find a tutorial that truly teaches you pacing. It's a skill that mostly comes through experience. Once you focus on pacing, the workflow shifts and your timeline becomes simpler, not because you're doing less, but because you keep only what the story truly needs. Each cut lands exactly when it should, and every shot stays only for as long as it adds meaning. Nothing exists in the edit without a purpose. At this stage, editing stops feeling like a collection of techniques and becomes a series of intentional decisions. The work starts to feel invisible, supporting the story without pulling attention to itself. And when the edit disappears and the story is all the viewer notices, that's when you know you've done your job perfectly. There's one element almost every beginner overlooks: audio. If visuals tell the story, audio is what makes the viewer feel it. Top editors often say that a video with average visuals and great sound will always outperform a video with great visuals and bad sound. Sound design isn't just about adding sound. It's about guiding how the viewer processes the moment. The tone of the music can quietly steer their emotion in one direction or another, shaping what they feel before they even realize it. And when those choices align with the visuals, the story becomes easier for the audience to absorb and connect with. When editors look back at their early days, many admit they would have focused on audio much earlier. Because once you understand how to shape sound, your edits instantly feel more professional and intentional. You start thinking about pacing, clean pauses, audio leveling, and impact, not just cuts and transitions. And that's when your videos stop being watched and start being experienced. Mastering audio isn't optional. It's the signature that separates average editors from those who master the craft. If you got value from this video, there are more editing tips on the way, so subscribe and stick around. I'd be glad to have you with me.